Hello and welcome to the 5th Logelloop tutorial video. This video covers the management of scene elements. Just a quick reminder on scene memory. Scene memory recalls the state of most of Logelloop's important parameters, especially those in the main window, while the project itself contains all of the scene settings. Here's an analogy. The project is a concert, and each scene is a piece within the concert. So here I'm loading a loop into A and a second loop into B. I'm now going to change many of the settings on the tracks, such as level, panning, and effect sends, as well as time stretch, speed, and pitch. When I have my desired settings, I can click New and enter a new name for my scene. I'll change a few settings, and once again I'll click New and call the new scene Memory 2. You can see that now my two scenes appear together in this list. Once I select one, the console automatically returns to the former state. Logelloop offers multiple ways of recalling scenes. I'm currently in the direct record mode. In this mode, all I need to do is click on a scene and it immediately loads. If you want to recall a scene at a specific time, you should use Press Recall mode. Now you press the recall button when you want to change scenes. The recall on next loop mode allows you to change the scene and loop simultaneously. This lets you record a scene associated with a specific loop. In this mode, when I switch to loop B, scene 2 is indeed recalled. Finally, the recall at first beat recalls a scene on the first beat of the metronome. We haven't covered the metronome in detail yet. This will be included in the next tutorial, but just know that the metronome lets you trigger actions such as this one. And as you can see, the scene changes on the first beat of the measure, that is, when the metronome displays 1. Let's return to the direct record mode to demonstrate Logelloop's interpolation feature. You can incorporate a period of interpolation between scenes. This determines the time it takes to go from one scene to the next. If you set the interpolation time to 5 seconds while in memory 1, and then you click memory 2, the settings will take 5 seconds to arrive at memory 2 from memory 1. If you select the through mode designated by the downwards arrow next to the dashes, the interpolation will pass through all the scenes on the list between the selected scenes in order. If I go from memory 1 to memory 2, it behaves the same as before. But then if I go to default settings, the interpolation passes through all the scenes in the list. Let's move on to the buttons related to scene memory. There's the recall button, which in recall mode lets you recall a scene at a specific time. The store button lets you modify existing scenes. For example, if I change the volume of track 6, I can save this change in the scene. There's the new button that lets you create new scenes, the delete button for deleting them, and finally the edit button. When you click this, a new window opens. On the left, it shows you all the projects on your computer. In the middle column is the list of scenes within the selected project, and with the arrows you can import any scene from any project into the current project. Here I've imported a scene called Groove. You can also change the order of your scenes to best suit the through interpolation mode, if you wanted to use it in a concert, for example. You can also delete multiple scenes simultaneously using the command button. I'll play the loop again, and you can see that Groove is indeed on the list of scenes in the current project, and I can recall it if I like. Logelloop also has a window called Preset Arranger, which lets you organize several scenes in one playlist. I'll create a playlist using the New button that I'll call Playlist. With the plus button on the right, I'll create a new slot, and I'll go to a new scene, Memory 1, and add this scene to the playlist. I'll select different interpolation times for each scene, and now I can easily switch between them using the arrows. These arrows can of course be mapped to a MIDI device or as keyboard commands. The Preset Arranger lets you independently control interpolation time, launching and stopping of certain macros, we'll go into macros in another tutorial, and launching of presets in the slicer, which we'll go into next. You can modify or delete playlists with the Store and Delete buttons. If you want to delete individual slots in a playlist, hold Alt, and the plus buttons will turn into minus buttons. That's all for the Preset Arranger. Now onto the Slicer. The Slicer is a system that lets you easily split up your loops into smaller sections, which can then be played back as loops or one-shots. Slicer memorizes playback mode, speed, direction, pan, volume, etc. To save the state of the console in Slicer, I'll click a spot on the Slicer. When you save a new state, the button will turn green as you click. I'll change some of Logelloop's settings and save these into each button of the Slicer. The button flashing green lets you know that the state has been saved. We'll cover some more advanced tips and keyboard shortcuts in depth in the last tutorial of this series, but right now you can see a few that I'm using in the Loop Editor window to select or move selections within the loop. I haven't yet specified this, but of course, the Slicer window can be found in the palette or by using Command J. Now I can recall states in the Loop Editor by clicking the Slicer buttons. In the Slicer window, I can also choose which effects to recall, and I can store states within the Slicer in the same way as scenes and manage them with the New, Store, and Delete buttons. These can be recalled at the end of the loop, on the first beat of the metronome, or immediately. In Load at Loop End mode, the state will load once the current loop finishes. In Loop at First Beat mode, the state will change on beat 1 of the metronome. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. For more on the Slicer, check out Chris Men's video on the Logelloop homepage. Thanks for watching. See you next time.